We've got breaking news on a thwarted terror attack, thank God, that was supposed to target the fans at the UFC match at the White House. It's a developing story. We'll give you all the details that we've got now and more as the show goes on. So keep it right here for that. It's a stunner, actually. Also, JD Vance just marched onto the set of The View and took a blowtorch to the place. Didn't. I wish he had, but they tried and they tried and they tried over and over again to try to get him. And they didn't get him. He got them. And Gavin Newsom now under investigation. We only know this because Gavin Newsom told you so. He's actually excited about it. He's proud about it. He's raising money off of it. And he says that it's all politically motivated. Is it? Well, we've got some receipts. We'll show you coming up right now. This is Town Hall Media. My name's Larry O'Connor, and you can call me Larry. I needed some water. I have a big jug of water. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Let's get right to it. This morning, it was revealed that an arrest had been made over the weekend, and there are other people now in custody involved in a really big domestic terror attack that targeted the UFC Freedom 250 event at the White House Sunday night. This thing is... well, it's pretty expansive what they were hoping to achieve. Here's how Fox News reported it this morning on Fox and Friends.
This breaking news just into the Fox newsroom. The FBI disrupting this alleged plot targeting the UFC Freedom 250 event at the White House. Officials telling Fox a network of nearly 24 potential plotters were identified, with at least 5 people in custody right now. The suspects allegedly traveled to Fredericksburg, Virginia, to make final preparations for the attack. And the alleged plan allegedly included explosive-packed drones hitting buildings near the event, forcing a mass evacuation, and then steering crowds, get this, toward a pre-staged sniper team. A second wave was then planned to storm the White House gate. The FBI first learned of the threat on June 10th and worked with law enforcement across multiple states to stop it. FBI Director Kash Patel saying, quote, "We are built to detect, respond to, and bring to justice those who threaten the lives of American citizens, particularly during large gatherings like the historic UFC 250 fight." That's exactly what we did here. Over 4,300 people were in attendance for UFC 250, which included 1,200 service members. Luckily, nobody was harmed during the FBI's takedown. The event went off without a hitch.
All right, so what's this all about? Was this radical Islamic jihadis? No, doesn't look like it. Was it Antifa types? Well, maybe. Was it crazy right-wingers? Well, it's not that simple. We'll give you more information and more details and try to give you as plain a description of these perpetrators as we can, outside of the stereotypes and the basic templates that you're going to find in legacy media, who are, frankly, lazy and have an agenda. Here's a little bit more reported by Fox.
We're thankful that this did not turn into an actual plot. Those 2 men, as you mentioned, who were arrested in California and are being charged with conspiracy to commit murder, they appeared in federal court in California yesterday. A teenager is facing charges in Ohio. John, around 4,300 people were in attendance for UFC 250, including 1,200 service members. Investigators tell Fox the alleged plan was to use an explosive-laden drone to hit buildings near the event, which could force a mass evacuation and steer crowds towards a pre-staged sniper team. A, quote, second wave was allegedly planning to storm the White House. One suspect allegedly told investigators the goal was to target, quote, capitalist elites or billionaires or politicians who received donations from the American-Israeli Public Affairs Committee, known as AIPAC. Now, in Ohio, a 19-year-old named Tyson Proper, according to multiple sources, was taken into custody He allegedly spent $3,000 of his graduation money to purchase ammunition, guns, and magazines for the alleged attack in California. Two men, Brian Roa and Michael Allen Thomas, were arrested and, as I mentioned, appeared in court yesterday. Authorities have 23 people on the list as part of a potential network of alleged plotters. And there is more. Investigators uncovered encrypted chats on cell phones where people allegedly discussed attacking the UFC event. And one of the people in the chat identified some 23 users discussing what's called pre-operational activity. And some, John, allegedly planned to travel to Fredericksburg, Virginia, just south of Washington, D.C., a day or two before the fight to prepare for the alleged attack. As we go on throughout the day, more of these court documents are going to be unsealed.
That's right. And if we get any of those unsealed documents here on the program, we'll share them with you over the course of the next hour or so. So now you hear a little bit more about who these people are, what the motives were. If you missed it, we'll play it back for you in just a second. But here's the photograph of that teenager. Teenager? That's what they say. This is a teenager that was arrested in the Cincinnati area who said he used $3,000 of his graduation money. High school. It's a high school graduate. Dude needs a hair transplant big time. I know. But I didn't have to get one until I was in my 40s. What's going on here, man? There's something definitely happening. That's a teenager. Okay. $3,000 of his graduation money. Does that mean he got more than $3,000 for graduating high school? That's noteworthy, isn't it? That suggests that maybe he's not, poor. Also, I want you to take a look at him, and I want you to compare him to anyone else that is currently on the political scene right now. Who does he resemble? Who does this guy bring to mind immediately in your head when you think about anybody in the current American political dynamic? Who do you think that is? We'll give you more clues in a minute because everyone's trying to figure out who these people are aligned with. Are these right-wing MAGA types? Well, wouldn't really be in keeping with a right-wing MAGA type to slaughter everybody attending the Freedom 250 UFC fight on the south lawn of the White House. Would it? No, it really wouldn't. Anyone who's saying on cable news right now or on Jim Acosta's Substack that this is MAGA right-wing violence, they're just lying to you, and they have an agenda. Who does this guy look like? And when you hear the political motivations behind them that we will share once again with you, who does it sound like? Once again, if you missed it.
Suspect allegedly told investigators the goal was to target, quote, capitalist elites or billionaires or politicians who received donations from the American-Israeli Public Affairs Committee, known as AIPAC.
Okay. Political rich elites, billionaires who were funded by AIPAC. Yeah, you know exactly who this looks like, and you know exactly who that sounds like. This is not from the American right wing. This is not from conservatives. This is not from Trump MAGA. This is the Graham Plattner class warfare, anti-Israel, anti-Semitic, dividing our country along financial class lines kind of crap that has become mainstream in the Democrat Party. And I'm not saying they're Democrats. I have no idea how he registered, and it's irrelevant. But his political agenda, if this is correct, fits in with Bernie Sanders, Zora Mamdani, AOC, and Graham Plattner, who he bears a striking resemblance to, frankly. Psychopathic, sociopathic, violent white bully with a little meat on him. And a really rough hairline. Did he really say he was a teenager? Can we just...
Now, in Ohio, a 19-year-old named Tyson Proper.
19-year-old Tyson Proper. 19. Something in the water there in Ohio. So unless you're hearing people lay out those details and drawing direct comparisons to what we're seeing in the, sadly, activist base of the day. Again, I'm not saying this is Chuck Schumer's fault. I'm saying Chuck Schumer and the rest of the Democrat establishment are embracing people who are repeating this kind of garbage. The billionaire class and the Epstein class, those people. The oligarchs who will take it over our country. Those people. They're the ones, it appears, that motivated this attack. Bill Maloogian, Fox News. Details via federal arrest affidavit reveal that a California man named Michael Allen Thomas was one of the alleged organizers of the alleged UFC White House terror plot. Feds say he admitted he believes the U.S. government is run by elites who sacrifice and eat children, had involvement with Jeffrey Epstein, and are protected by President Trump, who keeps using the Epstein class as their talking point right now to try to get donations and votes. Investigators took screenshots of his Signal chats in which details of the plot were discussed and maps of the UFC event were shown with suggestions on where snipers should be placed. Feds also recovered rifles and ammo, sources tell colleague David's Punt. Those in custody are American citizens, and there is no foreign nexus believed to be at play. And yes, here are some of those screenshots that show maps of Washington, D.C., the ellipse, targeting exactly where the fight was supposed to take place, the UFC fight, that is. And these are the weapons and gear that were involved. You know, sort of the kind of thing that Graham Plattner used when he was out fighting for mercenaries over in the Middle East. Again, I'm not saying that they were inspired by Graham Plattner. I'm just saying that they sound exactly like Graham Plattner. That's what I'm saying. I hope that's what you're hearing. There's something broken here, and it's terrifying. You heard the details of the plot. They were going to use drones with explosives to fly in and explode right near some of the buildings. That would have caused a mass panic. Then the crowd at UFC would have been funneling out in one direction. They would have been directed toward an area where snipers had been poised. When that carnage happened and the chaos ensued, another team would then storm the White House. To what end? Well, I don't know. You'd have to ask Graham Plattner. I mean, I'm sorry. This guy right here, this 19-year-old terrorist who was looking out for you, the working men and women of America, against the elitist, oligarch, billionaires, Epstein class. Sorry, I call it like I see it, and I see it plain as day. President Trump over at the G7 in France was asked about this while he was meeting with one of the emirs from the Emirates. I'm not sure which. And he had not heard about this attack. He was asked about the attack at the UFC match, and he said, attack? Yeah, we saw some attacks, all right.
Mr. President, were you briefed on the attack plans for the UFC event at the White House? There was, the FBI thwarted an attack.
I haven't heard about it, no. But I watched, the attack that I watched were the fighters. And he saw it too, by the way. He was sitting back home in his beautiful palace, and he was watching that. And they were as good a fights as I've ever seen, right?
The best fight.
The best. They were. That last fight was brutal.
Wow.
And all of the fights were good.
The two fights.
It was all good. It was a great evening. It was very different for the White House, but I wish you could have been there. We built an incredible arena. Dana did a great job.
Is there going to be another fight next year?
Well, I don't know. I got away with it because 250 years. Maybe in another 50, maybe in 300.
No doubt we'll all be there for that as well. By the way, I'm sure when he said we built a beautiful arena, of course what he meant was the UFC built that arena with their own money, not federal tax dollars. Let's just clean up that mess on aisle 3, shall we? JD Vance is selling his book right now. It's a brand new book. It's out today. It's called Communion. It's all about his conversion to the Catholic faith and about how it informs his political positions and what he plays out in his professional life as well as his personal family life. And he's trying to sell that book. And of course, when you're the vice president of the United States in the middle of a deal to end the conflict in Iran, and then suddenly a terror attack is revealed, you're going to do a lot of media appearances and they're going to ask you about everything but your book. So let me be the first to tell you, you should buy JD Vance's book because he's on a book tour right now. He's trying to sell his book and nobody's asking about the book. It's called Communion. Go ahead and buy it. All right, there. I've done my due diligence for the vice president because I feel bad for him because here he was on Fox and Friends selling the book, Communion, available now. And instead, he was asked to comment on this foiled terror attack. And here's what the vice president had to say.
This is very scary. We learned about this, about 30 minutes ago, an hour ago in the middle of our show.
Sure.
Why do you think they're telling us this? Because I know there's a lot going on behind the scenes with the FBI.
Sure.
We don't always find out. Why do you think they're telling us this now? And what's your reaction?
Well, I think they're telling us because the scale of the plane attack is so significant. And I think it's important for us to be as transparent as we can be about these ongoing investigations. We want to tell the American people what's going on, of course. But I actually just heard about it this morning myself. And so this is a very, very dark stuff. And unfortunately, we're talking about this a little bit off camera, but this is what happens when people turn the rhetoric up so loud that disagreeing with somebody is a cause for violence. That's the place that we've come to, unfortunately, with too much of our political rhetoric. We got to tell everybody to tone it down. And I hate to say this, but it's true. You see more political violence and violent rhetoric coming from the left than the right these days. Everybody has a role to cut this stuff out. But I think a lot of my Democratic colleagues in Washington have got to look themselves in the mirror and say, why is so much of this political violence coming from our side of the spectrum? Maybe they can do something different.
That's right. Look yourself in the mirror. And if this guy is looking back at you, or the garbage that he's spewing is looking back at you, then maybe you're part of the problem. And yeah, it's both sides. But it isn't, is it? From Butler to Charlie Kirk to this. Well, and add the White House Correspondents Association in there. There seems to be one direction that the violence is coming from and one direction that it's targeted to. Audacious violence. And I just want to remind you, once again, according to the FBI, reported by Fox News, here was the motive behind this terror attack.
Sniper team, a quote, second wave, was allegedly planning to storm the White House. One suspect allegedly told investigators the goal was to target, quote, capitalist elites or billionaires or politicians who received donations from the American-Israeli Public Affairs Committee, known as AIPAC. Now,
anti-Israel, anti-billionaire, anti-capitalist. Oh, but yeah, it's right-wing MAGA. That's what you'll hear. That's what you'll hear all night long if you watch those shows that nobody watches anymore. It's terrifying. And the vice president is right. It seems that all of this is coming from one direction right now and targeting us, targeting conservatives, Republicans, and people who support the president and support the ideals of our nation and a free market economy that actually allows people like Elon Musk to become rich and allows the rest of us all to work hard and make money as well. There are a lot of hopeless people out there, and they think it's always those guys, those powerful few, who are keeping them down. And sadly, there are a whole lot of people in American politics and in the media who get rich off of feeding those people, feeding their fever dreams, and then they act like they had nothing to do with it when something horrible happens. Thank God this was stopped. Thank God the FBI got in the middle of it. And if we get any more information about this, we'll let you know. But I wonder if Graham Plattner, Zora Mamdani, AOC, Bernie Sanders, I wonder if they'll pause for a moment and recognize their rhetoric coming out of the mouths of these monsters. And they can stop for a second and say, hey, enough is enough. I doubt it. I sincerely doubt it. Coming up in 1 minute, Gavin Newsom is celebrating the fact that he's under criminal investigation, and he's raising money off it, too. There's a lot of smoke, but is there fire? Well, we'll report. You know the rest. But before we get back to that, something that has real consequences right now for those of you 64 or older, or if your parents are on Medicare, if you're on Medicare, if you're about to be, or your parents are about to be, this is not a decision you want to guess on. The wrong plan can mean your doctor isn't covered, your prescriptions cost way more than they should, and you're locked into something that doesn't fit your life. And it's incredibly confusing to find the right one for you. Now, between us, I think there's a special place in hell for all those people who send all those Medicare mailers. Like, they know where your birthday is. They know when your parents are turning 65, 66, and they go nuts sending you like reams and reams of mailers that are designed to be confusing and to scare you. Don't do it. Don't fall for it. I point people in my life to Chapter, including my own mother, by the way. Chapter is independent. Chapter is the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. Their advisors are honest. They aren't incentivized to push one plan over another, like what all those mailers are doing. See, they look at your doctors, they look at your prescriptions and your priorities, and then they give you a straight answer. If you're on the right plan, they will tell you. That's what they told my mom. Hey, good news, Mrs. O'Connor, you're on the right plan. If you're not, they'll help you switch. In fact, seniors who found better fitting plans through Chapter have saved an average of $1,100 a year. Call Chapter 580-308-0975. It's free. It's under 20 minutes, and you don't want to guess on this one. Call Chapter 580-308-0975. Governor Gavin Newsom took to the media yesterday, especially social media, and announced that he and his wife, at the very least, are under FBI investigation. Now, the FBI is not commenting on this. The Department of Justice is not commenting on this. Everything we know about this criminal investigation of Gavin Newsom is coming from Gavin Newsom, or actually, more specifically, it's coming from the governor of California. If you don't understand the distinction here, let me explain. Here's the post. And this came out on the official X account of the California governor. In other words, when there's a new governor of California, they'll use this same account. This isn't Gavin Newsom's personal account. And he posted, "My office is demanding the Trump administration release any and all records on the Trump DOJ's politically motivated, baseless fishing expedition. The American people deserve to know who ordered this abuse of power and how far it goes." And then he put out this letter on the office of the governor's letterhead. So in other words, this demand that the DOJ release any and all information that they have with regard to the origins of an investigation into Gavin Newsom, the man, or his wife, this demand is coming from the office of the governor. California taxpayers are funding Gavin Newsom's pushback, Gavin Newsom's political jujitsu, trying to turn this into an advantage for himself. There's more. Here's Gavin Newsom at the podium with the seal of the governor on it, state flag behind him. He even put on a tie for this one, Governor Hairgel. He is pushing back as governor, not as Gavin Newsom, private citizen. Now, that's fascinating, and we'll get into that in a minute, but here's what the governor had to say. We'll take this as long as we can stomach it.
In recent days, federal agents have knocked on the doors of family, friends, and former employees, not because they found a crime, because they're simply trying to find one. They're demanding records. They're abusing the grand jury process.
Real fast here, and again, he's doing the staccato William Shatner as Captain Kirk circa 1966 delivery, because this is what they're doing right now. Not because, but because. And all right, so a couple of things here real fast. They're knocking on doors and they're looking for evidence, not because there's a crime, because they're looking for a crime. Well, so just so you know, this is how law enforcement works. You see, if somebody reports that they think a crime has taken place, if it rises to the level of getting an investigator out there to gather evidence, well, they gather evidence. This is what gathering evidence is. And by the way, this whole idea, abusing the grand jury system. No, this is in fact the grand jury system. This is how grand juries operate. Evidence is presented to them. They say, well, is there evidence of A, B, or C? And then they send investigators out to see if there's evidence of A, B, and C. So he's already lying to you. But here, there's more.
Digging through years and years of random documents. Donald Trump isn't just coming after me because of my mean tweets. He's coming after me because I'm considering running for president, because he hates that I've consistently called him out over and over again for his lies and deceit. Donald Trump is simply the most corrupt president in American history. He's turned the levers of government into his own personal power.
Now, he spends the next 4 minutes of this video attacking Donald Trump. Okay, so he's already set the predicate that I'm being investigated. He's abusing the grand jury. He's abusing the FBI. I love the little note there that they're looking at random documents from years gone by. You might want to look into how the Justice Department executed warrants for documents on Donald Trump. Okay, all these people who said, oh, the Justice Department would never do anything like that. They'd never be used for political purposes to go after Joe Biden's political enemies. Now they're saying that's exactly what Trump is doing. I thought the Justice Department would never do that sort of thing. So if you buy what he's saying here, then you also have to concede that that's exactly what they did to Trump. However, we'll get into some of the details of what we think they're actually investigating. And trust me, there's a whole lot of smoke there. maybe even quite the fire, maybe a bonfire. But he spends all this time now attacking Trump, and then he closes with this.
On you and our children. And to Donald Trump, this country does not belong to you. It does not belong to your cronies. And we're going to fight your lawlessness. And we're going to continue to remind the people of this country of your corruption. That same corruption our founders warned us against as we move to celebrate our 250th anniversary. I'm going to keep reminding Americans of what they warned would happen if a man with no character ever held the office of presidency. So let me say it again. Mr. President, come after me. I'm not going anywhere. And the country is watching.
Wow. There you go. Couple of things. That last part is very noteworthy. This is Gavin Newsom. By the way, I just want to, he sent out emails to all of his supporters and funding. He's raising money off of this. No one was talking about Gavin Newsom for the last couple of weeks. He's been dropping in some of the polls. So he's using this. He's exposing, again, no one from the FBI, the Justice Department, or the Trump campaign, or anybody. There was no leaks about this, anything. No one knew about this until Gavin Newsom decided to put this video out. And how dare you investigate? How dare you? And how dare you come after my wife? Yeah, we'll get to the wife in a second. But this last part, go ahead. Look under any rock. Follow me. Investigate me. I got nothing to hide. Okay, we'll see about that. But it reminds me of a guy named Gary Hart. For those of you who are too young to remember, Gary Hart ran for president. And there were a lot of rumors. He was a senator from Colorado. There were a lot of rumors in Washington, D.C. that he, had some girlfriends and was cheating on his wife and had a lot of, dalliances going on. And so Gary Hart had a press conference and he said, how dare you? How dare you suggest that I would ever hang out with women who aren't my wife and dally around and have girlfriends and all that stuff. So if you want to investigate me, go ahead. Follow me. I got nothing to hide. And so some reporters did follow him. And the next thing you know, we had a picture like this. That's Gary Hart. That's Donna Rice on his lap. Didn't end well for Gary Hart. He had to end his campaign for president because it turned out, well, there was a lot of fire there with the smoke. And the rest is history. So when Gavin Newsom says, yeah, go ahead, investigate me, it makes you wonder if this will end well for Gavin Newsom. And then there's the whole question of his wife and what's going on there. Here, let's walk down the paper trail and show you exactly what we think is being investigated. First, our own Town Hall Washington correspondent, Cameron Arcand, got a source within the Justice Department who confirmed, okay, yeah, there is an investigation, and says that there's numerous going on right now about Gavin Newsom for about a year now. In fact, some sources say that the investigation started during the Biden administration. They stem from whistleblowers in California. The investigations did not begin in Washington, D.C. They began because a whistleblower in California came forward. Apparently, it has to do with his wife's taxes and his chief of staff. His chief of staff, wait a second, what could that be about? Oh, I'm glad you asked. Let me tell you. His chief of staff has been convicted of wire fraud and other crimes that are actually connected not just to his work as chief of staff for Gavin Newsom, but also his work with Xavier Becerra, the man who's now the Democrats' nominee for governor, back when he was with Health and Human Services under Joe Biden. Yeah, there's a whole lot of corruption going on in California. That's what happens in Sacramento when you've got one-party rule. But the Newsom campaign is freaking out, and that's why they sent this. Oh, sorry, not Newsom's campaign, Newsom's office as governor. After they saw our write-up over at Town Hall, Cameron Arcand now got this, a fact sheet, which says that federal agents are looking for a crime that doesn't exist, that it's an investigation not built on evidence. And they give all of this information and factoids that they put out. It's really a political document. It doesn't have anything to do with the investigation. But what you're seeing here before your very eyes is Gavin Newsom trying to frame the narrative on this thing so that no matter what happens, no matter what evidence comes in, people within the left-wing Democrat fever swamp will think, oh, well, this is just Trump trying to attack his political enemies. I mean, it may be brilliant that Gavin Newsom has done this, but the fact is there is quite a bit of evidence. Adam Housley, who is a former reporter for Fox News, now private citizen living in California, says, as I've reported several times and now acknowledged by the governor of California, Gavin and his wife are under federal investigation. What he failed to tell you is this began during the Biden administration. Kind of a big detail. Indeed, it is. Amy Reichert is an independent journalist in San Diego. She says that a lot of this has to do with a thing called behested payments. Let me explain. Gavin Newsom's wife, the first partner of California, she's a filmmaker. She learned the craft under the tutelage of Harvey Weinstein. I'm not joking. Go ahead. Google Gavin Newsom's wife and Harvey Weinstein. You'll learn a lot about what Gavin Newsom's wife was into at the time. Now she does documentaries. She's got a private company. She's also got a nonprofit. The nonprofit, I kid you not, this is the most California thing I have ever said in my life. Her nonprofit film company produces films to promote gender equity. That is correct. She has a nonprofit film company that produces films to promote gender equity. That's Gavin Newsom's wife. But it's a nonprofit, you see. And so what they do is they get donations to make their films. And a lot of those donations are from corporations. And a lot of those corporations that donate to her nonprofit to make films about gender equity are also corporations that have business with the governor's office of California. You see what's happening here? I hope you do. These are called behested payments. As Amy Reichert reports, behested payments are donations that politicians like Gavin Newsom ask companies like Facebook, Google to make to nonprofits or government causes. They're illegal in many other states where this kind of solicitation from regulated businesses would be treated as a shakedown or even extortion. But in California, they're completely legal with no limits on the amount, though they have to be reported if they're over $5,000. During COVID in 2020, the amounts exploded under Newsom, hitting $226 million, up from just $12 million the year before. Top donors included Facebook at $27 million, Google, Blue Shield, Disney, Kaiser, Paramount Pictures, Netflix, YouTube, TikTok, Amazon, T-Mobile, Bank of America, and others, mostly for pandemic relief, vaccines, homelessness programs, and public health ads. Critics say this looks like pay to play, especially since many of those same companies later got big state contracts. Now, those are the behested payments from corporations to the state. Doesn't even involve his wife's film company, where she got a ton of other money that was directed her way. By the way, in Gavin Newsom's video, remind me again what he said about Donald Trump being corrupt in the White House.
One by one, anyone who has challenged Donald Trump has ended up on his hit list. And today, I proudly join that list. After calling for my arrest last year, Donald Trump directed his Department of Justice to investigate me. And just in the last week, I've learned that his campaign has reached my own home. To get me, he's coming after my wife, Jen, a public servant, a woman who's dedicated her life to supporting women and girls.
Well, again, you might want to Google that Harvey Weinstein stuff. I'm not sure how much support she provided. That said, Gavin Newsom decided to accuse Donald Trump of...
Donald Trump is simply the most corrupt president in American history. He's turned the levers of government into his own personal power ministries to reward cronies and to try to jail his opponents. His personal attorney now runs the Department of Justice, which has repeatedly gone after his political enemies. Ask Jerome Powell. Sent them after James Comey.
Again, the James Kirk, William Shatner delivery is just so staccato and annoying, but there's more.
James Adam Schiff. He sent them after Tim Walz, and a woman that a jury found Donald Trump had sexually abused. One by one, anyone who has challenged Donald Trump has ended up on his hit list. And today...
Yeah, there we go. But he also accused, as you heard, from rewarding his cronies, people who give him money, then gets government contracts. It's almost like Gavin Newsom is very familiar with that sort of phenomenon, right? As detailed in what we just laid out. There's more. Susan Crabtree, also based out of San Diego. She does investigative reporting for Real Clear Politics. She wrote a book about this whole thing. It's called Fool's Gold, The Radicals, Con Artists, and Traitors Who Killed the California Dream and Now Threaten Us All. She says, we break down the crazy PG&E. PG&E is Pacific Gas and Electric. That's the gas and electric company of course, the utility that does business with California. The money Newsom behested to his wife's gender justice nonprofits. PG&E is the utility that's caused the deadliest 85 deaths wildfires in California history. A PG&E executive is even listed as a producer on one of her films that she screened at PG&E headquarters. Declaring a state of emergency because of the pandemic, Newsom brazenly granted no-bid contracts worth hundreds of millions to health service providers and other corporations, some of which donated to charities at his behest. Because of the obvious ethical issues involved, several states prohibit such directed donations. In California, they're officially labeled behested payments and fully sanctioned, even encouraged. And then she goes on and on with that. And of course, if we're looking at independent reporters in California diving into the corruption that is the Gavin Newsom government, well, we've got to pay homage to Town Hall's own Jennifer Van Laar. She's the managing editor at Red State, and she's been putting the pieces together over the corruption that Gavin Newsom and, yes, his wife have been overseeing in California for years now. For years. And, of course, it takes the Justice Department at the federal level, even under Joe Biden, apparently, to begin investigating all of this in California, because California will never investigate itself. It is a one-party state, and Gavin Newsom appointed everyone in their positions. Don't forget, the current attorney general was put in place because the old attorney general got hired by Joe Biden to work in his administration. So you got to replace these people. They owe their jobs to Gavin Newsom. They're not investigators. They're not independent. So Jennifer Van Laar at Red State has to do it. Here's just one part of it. Do the math. Gavin Newsom reported $1.4 million of income last year. He paid $450,000 in federal and state taxes. He paid $200,000 in domestic workers. Wow, that's some expensive nannies. I wonder if they're all legal immigrants in this country. $150,000 to private school tuition. Wait a second. Private schools? I thought that this was a champion of the people and public education. Why would he pay that much in private schools? Weird, isn't it? $200,000 in property taxes, $20,000 in utilities. Now we're at $1 million. Add $120,000 a year in mortgage payments for his Sacramento home and $506,000 a year in mortgage payments for his new house. And that doesn't include food or clothing or entertainment for his 4 kids. Where's his money coming from? Rightfully asks Jennifer Van Laar at Red State. And if you'd like even more, go to redstate.com. Read her articles that she is now re-upped on the homepage, part of the Town Hall Media family. Gavin Newsom has a $3.7 million mansion. It was given to him as a gift. As a gift. And then 3 months later, they did a cash out refi for $2.7 million. And you don't have to pay taxes on that. So somebody gives you a home, you then do a cash out refi, you get that money and you can do whatever you want with it and you don't pay taxes on it. That's quite a scheme, ain't it? Oh, yes, it certainly is. So how are Democrats responding? Well, they're reading the talking points that have been delivered to them.
It's hard to imagine that a guy who's been fantasizing about running for president as long as Newsom has would be reckless enough to not have crossed every T, dotted every I, particularly knowing that Donald Trump weaponizes his government against his enemies and would not have, been very judicious about things like tax filings of him and his family.
Wait. All right, so I just want to point out Anna Navarro's argument here. Scott Jennings is about to zinger as only Scott Jennings can. But the argument is that Gavin Newsom would never be so stupid as to not pay his taxes and make sure that all of his finances are square, because he knows he'd get arrested or investigated. That's the argument. Listen, Gavin Newsom is a political craven animal who's always wanted to be president. So, of course, he's dotted every I and crossed every T. There's no way he'd be so arrogant and so reckless and so stupid as to not follow the law. Well, that's a hell of a defense. And it really works for literally every Democrat running for president. If they break the law, if they do anything that the rest of us would get investigated and arrested for, all they have to do is say, hey, come on. I'm a Democrat running for president. I'd never be this stupid and reckless. Really? That's the defense? Okay, Scott Jennings, you take it from here.
You're saying that you find it hard to believe that Gavin Newsom hasn't been or wouldn't have been reckless?
Their taxes are publicly available.
I mean, I think his
They're
years
all
of
publicly
personal
available.
judgment would indicate otherwise.
Anybody in our politics
What's the
hasn't been reckless. I mean, there are plenty of instances of people not crossing their T's and dotting.
That's right. There's plenty of incidences of people being reckless and stupid and arrogant and power hungry and thinking they can get away with murder. And maybe we need to add Gavin Newsom to that list. Listen, there's a lot more, and we could go on for another hour looking at all the details. I implore you, go check out our reporting at Town Hall. Certainly Jennifer Van Laar, managing editor of Red State, her reporting over at redstate.com. And just take a look at, not hacks like Ana Navarro, take a look at the Democrats, elected officials who are jumping out in front of cameras right now defending Gavin Newsom. Go ahead. You watch them. How many do you see? Exactly. Oh, and one other thing. We're told that this was a whistleblower in Sacramento. So you got to think, who in Sacramento, California would have inside knowledge about the inner workings of Gavin Newsom and his finances? Or is a close observer of Gavin Newsom and his wife's operations? Well, let me just say this. The whistleblower, if there is one in Sacramento that alerted the DOJ, I think it's a safe bet that it's a Democrat. And there are two factions in Sacramento right now within the Democrat Party. There's the Gavin Newsom faction, and then there's the Kamala Harris faction. And if you're a longtime viewer of this show, you know that I've been educating you about this. Not all California Democrats are the same. And the Gavin Newsom Democrats over here and the Kamala Harris Democrats over here, they hate each other. They've hated each other since they both worked for Willie Brown in San Francisco, and they continue to hate each other. And now they're both on a head-on collision course for the Democrat nomination for president. And now all of a sudden Gavin Newsom's under investigation, and it's because of a whistleblower, probably a Democrat in Sacramento. Do the math. Do the math and pop the popcorn, because this is going to get good. All right, coming up in 1 minute, the moment you've all been waiting for, JD Vance on The View. It happened just about an hour or so ago, and we've got the highlights. It's worth it. Trust me. Just wait 60 seconds for it. But first, there's a moment nobody talks about with weight loss. It's the moment it stops working. Suddenly, the diet that worked before doesn't. The workouts don't hit the same. Even eating less stops moving the needle on the scale. What's that all about? Well, it's not random. It's your body protecting itself. It's science, actually, because when your body thinks it's under stress, it slows your metabolism. It holds on to fat, and it fights you every step of the way. It's like a survival instinct. And that's why quick fixes eventually fail. Even the popular GLP-1 shots, they suppress the appetite, sure, but they don't fix what caused the problem. And that's why I'm a big fan of the folks at PhD Weight Loss. See, they focus on restoring your metabolism so your body stops fighting you. That's when real change happens. And right now, when you call and mention Larry, you're going to get 2 free weeks, and they'll pay for the cost of your food. That's a $1,500 value. And guys, in those 2 weeks, you can lose 10 pounds. And guys usually respond faster to PhD Weight Loss. So the 10 pounds, I'm telling you, I've done it before. 10 pounds for free to lose right now? That's worth trying, isn't it? Call 864-644-1900. Call them now. That's 864-644-1900. You use the code Larry, and you'll get that 2 weeks free and the cost of your food, $1,500 value. And in 2 weeks, you're down 10 pounds. You're welcome. Or you can go to myphdweightloss.com. When you're there, make sure you use Larry as the source, myphdweightloss.com. See, the goal isn't to lose weight once. It's to never have to start over again. JD Vance is selling his book. It's called Communion. It's about his conversion to the Catholic faith. I'm looking forward to reading it. It's out today, and he's going everywhere to try to sell that book, even to The View. And yes, it was just what you thought it was going to be. Here's JD Vance owning The View.
We've done a good job or not, and that's how they're going to vote.
Okay. So President Trump has called affordability a hoax. He said that, not me. He's pouring money into this ballroom of his and the reflecting pool. Oh, don't forget the Arch de Trompe, I call it, and a White House cage match. All these things. Why is he doing them when you just, everybody knows that Americans are struggling? What is he spending all this money for?
Well, I got to defend the president on the hoax point. What the president said is the idea that Republicans caused the affordability problem is a hoax. And I think that's true. If you go back to the Biden administration, inflation got up to 9% under the Biden administration. Okay. Right now it's at 3.5%. By the way, too high. We're doing everything that we can to bring it back down to 2.5%, which is where most people would like to see it. But we inherited an affordability problem. We're doing a lot to make it better. It's going to take a little bit of time. There's a lot more work to do. But the president knows that a lot of Americans are struggling. In fact, he ran on that. He talked about it. And we've done some things and made some good progress on that point.
He just said he loves the inflation.
What he said, Anna, what he said is that he loves the fact that the inflation is going to come down when this war is over. That's what he said.
That's not what he said.
That wasn't a direct. Are you his interpreter or are you his vice president? Come on.
Well, look. What the president said. People were asking about the inflation. They were asking about the affordability problem, which again is very real. And what he said is, "I love the inflation because it's going to come down when the war is over." And now, again, we already see gas prices. Gas prices today, $4.06 a gallon, too high, but way down from where they were just a couple of weeks ago. So there's a lot we got to do, but I think that we're doing as much as we can. We're going to keep on working at it. And again, the American people are going to make their verdict, but I think that we have a very credible case to run on, that we brought a lot of new investment. We're building the factories. That is going to pay serious dividends for the American people over the long haul.
When?
Well, Joy, if you look at manufacturing jobs,
okay.
Those jobs are increasing at a large number. Construction jobs are doing a little bit better. So what happens is the construction jobs to build the factories, and then the manufacturing workers go back to work. That also leads to rising wages. That's one of the things that I'm very proud of. Is if you look at the amount that wages are going up now compared to, say, 2022, they're going up way faster. That's a good thing. The affordability problem, again, gas, way too high right now. Certain things way too high. Rents have been either flat or down for 12 months now. So there are things that are showing signs of life, things that are showing signs of progress. My view, I'm sure you guys don't agree with it, is that we inherited a mess and we're fixing it. But sometimes it takes a long time to fix a mess.
Okay. Mr. Vice President, according to a new report from the New York Times, you were the leading voice behind the scenes to release the
All right, they go into Epstein for a minute. Okay, so there you go. Listen, we're a long way off from 2028, although not really, because right after the midterms, that's when everyone's going to start jockeying right now. And the talk in Republican circles, certainly, and my friends ask it all the time, Rubio or Vance, Rubio or Vance, Rubio or Vance. Well, first of all, I don't think we're actually going to have a choice between Rubio or Vance. I think Rubio and Vance are going to work that out amongst themselves. And Rubio has already said, if Vance runs, I'm not going to run. So there you go. But still, it's not stopping us. And let me just say, I think that both of them have great things going for them. If you are looking for a politician who will advance Trump's agenda that we're seeing play out right now, Trump's economic outlook, his tariff policy, his trade policy, his manufacturing policy, and even a whole lot of his foreign policy, I think. If you're looking for someone to advance what you're seeing as the Trump agenda right now, without the challenges that come along with Donald Trump sometimes. The fact that somebody has to say, no, what the president meant was this and that and that. And we all know that, by the way. We all know that the media loves to take snippets of what Trump said, or if Trump speaks in shorthand, they take it and say, look what he said, when he actually meant A, B, or C. If you're looking for someone who has better message discipline and takes the fight to the left and still promotes the Trump policies, JD Vance is certainly displaying himself to be that guy. He's very good at walking into the lion's den like this and pushing back on all of the garbage they throw at him. In fact, here they just tried it on affordability and on the economy, and now here they tried it on Epstein. They tried to trap Vance and accuse him and the president of in some way being part of the Epstein thing.
Appreciate this, but one of the things you see in the Epstein emails is that Jeffrey Epstein hated Donald Trump. and that Donald Trump literally reported Jeffrey Epstein to the police.
Okay,
That's
but
one of the things that came out of these
They were
files.
best friends for about a decade. And remember, he signed that Transparency Act under duress when some Republican women, congresswomen like Lauren Boebert, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, did not give in to his pressure of not signing. He brought Lauren Boebert into the Situation Room to pressure her into caving on not voting for that bill.
So let me respond to that. So
That's all true.
Let me respond to that. So number one is, yes, Donald Trump, he said this. He knew Jeffrey Epstein back in the 1980s. He also threw Jeffrey Epstein out of his club when he found out he was a creep and reported him to the police. That's something that the media often misses when it reports the story. They tell the fact that they knew each other in the 80s, which the president himself admits. They ignore the fact that he narked on him to the police and led ultimately to JeffreyEpstein's downfall. To that point, Anna, you know the Republican Party. Well, it's one of the things that led to law enforcement investigation. But on the point that you
And
made,
it was allegedly over a real estate deal that they got into a fight over.
but the email says
And
actually
they didn't just know each other. Let's just be truthful and transparent here. They didn't just know each other. They were incredibly close friends.
he reported him to the police. That's what I'm saying. That is objective. That is objectively true. But Anna made another point that I think I would be if I may. Because Anna made a very important point. This question about, did Donald Trump release these files only under duress from Republicans? And Anna, you know the Republican Party probably better than I do. The idea that Donald Trump runs around afraid of Republican congressmen as opposed to the other way around is kind of crazy.
What was the bipartisan?
All right, so that's pretty good too, as well. And honestly, again, I know that you get frustrated watching these clips just like I do. Let him finish. Stop talking over him and look at the body language with Anna Navarro there. She won't even. She's got to like turn her shoulders and her back to him and not even address him like a human being. But he was very good at laying out exactly what the story was, because yes, if you do look at the emails, Jeffrey Epstein hated Donald Trump because Donald Trump was the one who cooperated with law enforcement. And yes, Sonny Hostin, it did lead to his downfall. He got arrested down in West Palm Beach, Florida, partly because Donald Trump cooperated with the police. That's how he got arrested in the first place. It's not our fault that cronies, including people connected to Bill Clinton and the Democrats, all helped rehabilitate him and continued to meet with him even after that arrest. Donald Trump certainly didn't. And Jeffrey Epstein spent every waking day from that point forward trying to destroy Donald Trump. Those are just the facts. And all they wanted to, but they were so close before. Oh, okay, guess what? Anna Navarro used to be a Republican too. So what? What's going on now? What happened in the last 20 years with Jeffrey Epstein? All right, so that didn't work either. So now they have to get him on ICE. But what about ICE and all the horrible things that ICE is doing? It's like they just kept lobbing grenades at him and lobbing grenades, and he like knocked them out of the park.
I'd like to pick up on this theme because I think it's really important. We do have to strike a balance, of course, between enforcing our laws. We don't want to dehumanize people. That is the balance that, look, law enforcement, what I'd say about this, law enforcement is always inherently not a very pretty process, especially when you're dealing sometimes with violent people, with people who are resisting arrest. Some of the people that I've been told by the media were completely peaceful, had never violated any laws. You actually look into the record and you find out that those people were actually being violent, or they did have a criminal record. They had a sex trafficking conviction.
Don't have criminal records. So the majority of people that ICE is rounding up and taking out of their homes from their families, they're separating families. They're using children as bait.
But
the majority are not criminal.
But can I respond to that, guys? Let me just say this. Okay. So you talk about the children. Here's what I'd say. Do we know that during the last administration, we had tens of thousands of children who were sex trafficked by the cartels, who were brought into our country in profoundly dangerous and predatory conditions?
Let's talk about this administration.
But here's the point. Unless you enforce the border, you invite that kind of conduct. You think that our immigration policies are inhumane based on the reporting of one person with a political bias. What I'm telling you is that it's inhumane to allow cartels to sex traffic people across our border. And by the way,
please hold on.
I appreciate that. I'm going to get you back, Anna.
We're coming back with.
Oh, it's annoying. And he went on the charm offensive. And I got to say, he's a better man than I, because I couldn't handle it. But I hope you understand why we juxtapose those two clips back to back. Because here's JD Vance explaining to the audience of The View, who I'm sure has never heard this data point, that hundreds of thousands of children were lost under the Biden administration. And yes, many of them were trafficked to sexual predators and pedophiles. Just a fact. And it took the Trump administration and Tom Homan and Kristi Noem and now Mark Wayne Mullen at Department of Homeland Security to try to save these children and find them and identify them and rescue them and get them into safe hands. And I love Sonny Hostin saying, oh, but let's talk about this administration. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hang on a minute. Weren't you the same ladies who were screaming about Jeffrey Epstein a couple of minutes ago? Aren't you the same ladies who were trying to say that Donald Trump was involved in some nefarious actions back in the 80s with Jeffrey Epstein, even though there's no evidence of that? But now you don't want to go back, what, a year and a half ago to talk about what happened to children right now in our country, thanks to Joe Biden. And again, he's a better man than I, because I'd be, screaming like I'm screaming right now at you. It would be a Larry rant. All right, so they tried the economy. They tried Epstein. They tried ICE. None of it worked. So how are they going to get a JD Vance? How are they going to turn him? How are they going to destroy him? Oh, I've got an idea. This is novel. This is new. Let's call him racist.
But I think everybody is welcome in our political coalition. Frankly, even if you didn't vote for us, everybody is welcome in our country, so long as you're an American citizen with the duties and the legal obligations and rights to be here. But let me just give you an example of this. Okay, so you say that we're anti-minority or anti-black.
No, I didn't say that. I asked. See?
Well, okay, fine. Be fair.
Don't start any stuff
All
with me, man. Don't get me in trouble. Don't start no stuff with me.
Oh, the clapping seals are hilarious. But just so you know, and again, JD, better man than I. Yes, you're right. Whoopi Goldberg will never say you're anti-minority. She'll ask a question that obviously implies, suggests, and it's reasonable for us to infer that that's exactly what Whoopi Goldberg is saying. Why? Well, because we've met Whoopi Goldberg. We've actually seen her once or twice over the course of the last 50 years of our lives. And we know exactly what she thinks of J.D. Vance and Donald Trump and pretty much every Republican out there. But that's fine. We'll let her get away with this one. You're right. You didn't say it. You just asked the questions. She's just out here asking questions, everybody. All right. Go ahead, J.D. Finish it up.
I misinterpreted your question, but let me answer your actual question there. What I'm saying, I think, okay, look at Washington, D.C. One of the most democratic and one of the blackest, by share of population, blackest cities in the United States of America, has seen a radical decrease in violent crimes and sexual assaults and in murders. We have tried to take the crime issue seriously, in part because we believe everybody, whether you're black or white or rich or poor, deserves to live in a safe neighborhood.
Why does the crime? Where does the crime step in? This is not about crime. This is about
lost their jobs.
Right. This is about human
Sonny,
rights.
What you're saying is we got to do more on the economy.
And Black history has been erased from public spaces.
Black history is not erased from public spaces.
We do have to get to Iran when we get back. There's some very important news
I'm telling you, we celebrate Black history. We celebrate all American history in this administration. You guys might be skeptical of this, but I promise you it's true.
Oh, my God. Let him finish a sentence. So I do love that, though. No, all right. D.C. is, by demographic percentage, the blackest city in America, and we have brought the violent crime down there better than it's been in 50 years. There are the number of black people in D.C. being murdered on a daily basis has plummeted. We have helped bring law and order and safety to the streets so that lives are being saved. But you're erasing Black history. Really? That's your response? Yes, that's their response. And when they came back, JD had a chance to respond.
Color in your family.
Sure.
So when you see, things, the Emmett Till stuff coming down, or them doing all kinds of removal of information of Black heroes, how does that sit with you?
Well, what exactly are you talking about, Whoopi? Because you just, I know Emmett Till was the kid. No, I want to know what she's.
You don't know what I'm talking about.
Actual point.
So in a lot of the.
By the way, I just want it pointed out that when asked about erasing Black history, J.D. Vance just gave great homage to one of the greatest African-American actors of my lifetime, Gary Coleman. He just gave it different strokes. What you talking about, Whoopi? And I think he deserves some freaking credit for that. He should have done it like that. Instead of saying, I'm sorry, Whoopi, can you be more specific? What exactly are you talking about? He should have just said, what you talking about, Whoopi? That's what he should have done. Rest in peace, Gary Coleman. The man was a giant. Well, actually, he was very short. But you know what I mean. Okay, back to Whoopi.
Museums, there's so many. Where they're taking down the actual history that happened in this country. Slavery happened. All kinds of stuff happened. And it seems that it has been very easy for this administration to remove that and also to denigrate Black folks who have worked their behinds off to get this American dream. How do you, I mean, you know better.
So Sonny, that was actually a very helpful intervention, because I think the story you're talking about is where.
All right, so we don't have the entirety of the answer in that clip, but let me just say something. I want you to recognize that when asked for specifics, she couldn't give any. All right. All she could say was, well, slavery happened in this country. And I don't think anybody suggests that the Trump administration is in any way erasing history with regard to slavery. But here's what's ironic about all of this. First of all, I can answer the question, because I doubt JD Vance has really been involved with this, but I can tell you that there have been exhibits within the Smithsonian Institution here in Washington, D.C. that have been instructed to not make every single museum focused on slavery, because for the last 12 years in this country, that's exactly what it's been. You cannot go to an American historic institution, either in Washington, D.C., or at Monticello, or to James Madison's home in Virginia, or anywhere else, without the entirety of or at least 80% of what you learn about when you go to learn about American history would be all about slavery. Up in Philadelphia at Independence Hall, during the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, if you go check out the Liberty Bell and look at the Declaration at Liberty Hall, you're going to see half of the exhibit about the enslaved people who were there while John Hancock and Thomas Jefferson signed the document. It's become ridiculous. It's like if you go to see any part of American history and our founding, you would think the entire story was about the enslaved. I'm not saying that there wasn't something to say about slavery as part of our past. Of course, that's part of our past. But when these things were designed, run, and implemented by the 1619 Project wackos that were lauded and celebrated during the Obama administration, they got a hold of these institutions and said, that's it. If we're going to tell the American story, it has to be told through the eyes of the enslaved. And so now the pendulum has swung back a little bit to the middle. And yes, we're telling the story about slavery in America, but we're also telling the story of America outside of that perspective, because that's part of our story too. And one other thing, if I may, I will not be lectured. I will not be lectured to by people like Whoopi Goldberg, Sonny Host, and Joy Behar, and all of the rest of the radical left Democrats who spent several years tearing down statues in my town, tearing down statues and shutting down Civil War cemeteries, changing the names of military bases and forts named after American military heroes, changed the names of streets all across the South and the Mid-Atlantic, because those names and those statues were connected to slavery. These are the people who tear down statues of George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, and now they're accusing JD Vance of erasing Black history. These are the people who not just erase American history that they don't seem to like, they take it all, put it into a bonfire, and send it up in an inferno and try to rewrite American history. So pardon me if I get my back up a little bit, because finally we're getting a little balance to how we tell the story of our origins. Got a little ranty there, and I'm sorry, but JD Vance did a really good job. He did not rant. He took it all in stride. He kept a smile on his face. He deftly parried all of their attacks. And he should have been a little shouty, but that's why he's in politics and I'm not. All right, coming up, we've got your bonus clips, and then we've got your super chats. But first, I want to remind you that we saw a lot of Scott Jennings. In fact, we've got an epic Scott Jennings clip coming up in a second. But I want to remind you that you can go on a luxury cruise with me and with Scott Jennings and with Kurt Schlichter, Mike Gallagher, and Jennifer Horn from KRLA in Los Angeles. We're going in the middle of November, right after the midterm elections, on a beautiful Gulf of America cruise. It's the Town Hall Gulf of America cruise. And I was told that we only have 3 more weeks to sell this cruise. I checked on the cabins. We still have some left, but this is it. This is the deadline. If you've been thinking about it, if you want to give your dad or your grandpa or your uncle or your godfather or your husband an incredible Father's Day present, this is the one to give. Come and sail with us on the Gulf of America cruise. We're going to be having a blast. We'll talk about our love for our country. We'll talk about our politics out loud in a big voice and not worry about some crazy leftist Democrat with a nose ring coming over and smacking us down, because it's our shit, baby. This is our cruise, and we're going to have a blast. So go to LarryCruise.com. LarryCruise.com. Get all the information. It's LarryCruise.com. Did I mention the website? Oh, let me do that. LarryCruise.com. Speaking of Scott Jennings, Anna Navarro was very upset that one of the UFC fighters said that Michelle Obama was a man. Now, we thought it was funny, but at the same time, probably not the right setting. Probably read the room. Maybe not do that on the grounds of the White House. That said, Anna Navarro was just out of control about it. Normally, we would not show this to you, but it brought us one of the greatest Scott Jennings double takes to the camera that we have seen. And that's saying something, because the man is a master. Watch this.
Listen, this line of attack against Michelle Obama has been going on in right-wing extremist circles for years and years and years. So he doesn't want to confront it, because it would mean confronting part of his base. He doesn't want to condemn it or apologize for that, because he thinks that shows weakness. But all I'll say is this. Whenever there is a Democrat back in the White House, and they invite Robert De Niro, and Robert De Niro stands in the White House and says, "Fuck Trump," or starts talking about, what Melania Trump did. I don't want anybody who has remained silent right now raising their hand or saying a thing, because it's gotta, there's things that are just condemnable. These are the same people who want a comedian fired because of a lame joke about Melania Trump. And yet they don't have the guy said he had the balls to host the UFC, but he doesn't have the balls to condemn what is clearly condemnable.
All right. So a couple of quick responses to that, by the way. You have to understand that the dude going up there and saying Michelle Obama is a man, it's the same as the guy going on Tucker Carlson saying Epstein didn't kill himself. All right. It's just a meme, and the guy's repeating a meme. Is it in poor taste? Is it a little rough to say? Of course it is. Of course it is. But please don't take it so seriously. And by the way, this whole idea that, well, if somebody gets up there and says F Trump in the White House, I don't want you saying anything. Just so you know, the dude saying that at the UFC, that's the response to the hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of Stephen Colbert and Saturday Night Live and Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers and just over and over, and the John Oliver and the Jon Stewart. I mean, how many hours do we have to get inundated with the garbage that we hear about us and our political figures? And then this one guy says this one thing. Yes, I understand it was at the White House, but still, give me a break. But that said, the real reason for this is the incredible. I want you to know Scott Jennings knows exactly where the camera is. And as he's looking to Anna Navarro, the way these sets are set up is there are monitors hidden. You don't see them, generally speaking. They're between the video panels. But there are monitors where if you're on the set, you can see exactly what the shot is. So Scott Jennings knows he's in a 2-shot here, and he knows where the camera is. And that's what makes this that much more brilliant. Watch him again.
And says, "Fuck Trump," or starts talking about, what...
I need a coffee mug with that on it. That is brilliant. Also, in our bonus clips, the UFC thing, the left cannot stop talking about it. Here is a absolute wackadoodle on Jim Acosta's show explaining to his audience on Substack exactly how nefarious this UFC fight was. I know it's been compared to the gladiator fights in Rome. It's been compared to, some sort of Neanderthal test of wills and strength, but you don't know what the real origins were. Did you know that what you saw Sunday night on the South Lawn of the White House with the UFC championship fight, did you realize that you were watching a throwback to America's slavery? Well, if you didn't recognize that, you're not as insane as this woman.
What you are watching Trump do right now is deliberately tear that apart. And he is doing so on the same cultural argument, of course, that people used to back the first Gilded Age. That is, these culture wars that turn white Americans against marginalized people of color.
Right.
That's the bottom line there. So, I mean, it's not really a stretch to say that the same impulse that created the UFC fight on the White House lawn is the impulse that really pushed lynching in the late 19th century against Black Americans overwhelmingly.
They've just lost it. It's just infected with TDS. That is Heather Cox Richardson. She's a historian, don't you know? And I think my favorite part of the interview is Jim Acosta going, right. All right. Jim, you're never going to get on 60 Minutes, dude. It's just not going to happen. And finally, we celebrate an anniversary of sorts. 11 years ago today, Donald Trump went down that golden escalator at Trump Tower, and this guy was there to witness it, right there on the set of Fox News. And I want you to judge my political analysis back then compared to what you see every day here on this program. Here I was 11 years ago today.
I will be the greatest jobs president that God ever created. I tell you that. I'll bring back our jobs from China, from Mexico, from Japan, from so many places. I'll bring back our jobs and I'll bring back our money.
All right, so there you have it. Donald Trump doing what he does best, telling it like it is, and he's in. The real estate mogul and television personality jumping into the 2016 presidential race, kicking off his campaign. Look at this. Look at how he comes down the escalator like this. This is the lavish Trump Tower here in Manhattan with his beautiful wife in front of him. The Republican hopeful also revealing details of his nearly $9 billion net worth. Hello. Simon Rosenberg, president and founder of NDN, former Clinton campaign advisor Larry O'Connor, host of Mornings on the Mall on WMAL in Washington, and editor-at-large of IJReview.com. Have you guys ever seen a rollout quite like that? Let me start with you, Larry. Coming down the escalator, you had a band playing music. What was the song again? Was it Aerosmith?
The guy's got style, Gretchen.
All right.
You got to give him that.
I know.
He'll redo the White House with all marble interiors. I love that.
All right. So from a political point of view, I was just saying earlier today that he's kind of Christie-ish because he tells it like it is. He doesn't give a rip. He really probably would change up Washington instead of just saying that he might do that. Is that appealing to the American people?
I think it is appealing to some American people. It's appealing to me on a very base level. Listen, I'll be honest. I originally was not a huge Donald Trump supporter. I thought that, gosh, do we have to have another voice in this race? But then I saw the reaction of the elite media here in the District of Columbia and in New York City. And I refuse to be a pod person and jump on board with all of them. They're looking down their nose at this guy and they're decrying his contribution to the race here. Listen. As head of all of the industries that he has created in the Trump organization, he has done more for our economy and more for everyday working Americans than Hillary Clinton has done in her entire career as a corrupt first lady, as a do-nothing senator, and even a do-less-than-nothing, do damage Secretary of State. So if she's serious as a candidate, Donald Trump should be taken seriously, too.
I will take Donald Trump seriously. Look at that guy. Look at that hairline. Insane. And yes, I still have that tie. Check that out. It's my dad's tie. When my dad retired, he gave me all his ties. And some of these are vintage. I love that tie. I wore it this morning on O'Connor and Company. That was the day. That was 11 years ago today on the 16th. And it's true. I mean, when everyone was saying, oh, Trump's going to run, I was on the air. I was like, really, do we need another? We've already got 17 candidates. Do we really need another candidate for the Republican nomination? And then look what happened. That was my take then. And by the way, you saw, I don't know if you see the bug here at the beginning. It says Media Matters. See that? Media Matters is a left-wing website, and they pull clips of conservatives on Fox News or on talk radio, and they try to, they get traffic by saying, look at this crazy thing that the Republicans said, right? And I kid you not, the headline was this: Fox News analyst says people should take Trump seriously. That's what they found objectionable. That while everyone else was attacking Trump and saying that it was crazy, I said, yeah, you should probably take this guy seriously. And they pulled that and said, I can't believe that he would say such a thing. And well, here we are 11 years later, and the rest is history. Boy, Gretchen Carlson, what happened to her? Of all the people on that screen, I think I'm the most consistent. Anyway, that's where we were 11 years ago today. Happy anniversary, Mr. President. And I'm glad I still got your back. I mean, when it deserves to be gotten. All right, let's get to your super chats now, if you don't mind. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Don't you know? Angela, Child of God, is a member, and she says, if that party of Satan demon crack goon is 19, I'm turning 25 next Tuesday. I call total BS by the lamestream drive-by mediocrats. They say he's 19, but boy, oh boy. That's a wild, wild picture. I've never seen a 19-year-old like that. Anchored Wave 499, a victim complex kills self-reflection. Decide you're not a victim, and there's no one to blame but you. Scary, but you finally hold the power to change. Wow, that's like a really profound. We're not used to profundity here on this show. Anchored, thanks for classing up the joint. Harbor Lights with a $10 super chat. Larry, we all know Newsom is as corrupt as they come. I can't wait to read how the DOJ detail and expose all his wicked dealings. The Democrat Party produces demonic politicians. Well, he does have that demon look with the hair gel, doesn't he, Harbor Lights? Thank you for that. Appreciate the super chat. Anchored Wave $1.99. Gavin, is the warning of such a corrupt presidency. Oh, dude, he will be the worst. We cannot let this guy anywhere near the White House. Amen to that. Stumble Boots, you're cool. $5 super chat. Good luck to my girlfriend on her first day at her new job. Good luck, Stumble Boots' girlfriend, the future Mrs. Boots. Very excited. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to accelerate the relationship, but good luck. God's best friend, £2. I proudly joined T. Tim and mentally ill Han.
That's Gavin Newsom saying he's joining the ranks of all the people targeted.
Oh, that's right. That's right. He's very proud to be investigated by Trump. This whole thing, well, thank you, God's best friend. Psychological projection is £2. Does Anna Navarro know that Gavin Newsom claims to be stupid? That's right. He can't read after all. Remember, he can't read. That's right. So if his defense is, you really think I'm that stupid? I guess the answer is yes. He's literally that stupid. He can't read. Not that people with dyslexia are stupid, but I just don't believe he has dyslexia. Thank you, Psychological Projections. God's best friend, still a whiff of JD Pence. Hope I'm wrong. Let's see. I don't know. I don't think so. Angela, Child of God, last I checked, invading USA is a criminal offense. Oh, on illegal immigration. Thank you. Yes. Oh, no, but Sunny Hostin refuses. She's a lawyer, after all. Jeff Depew says a Larry rant is way better than the View spewage. Thanks for that. That's a low bar, but I appreciate it. Angela, Child of God, $2 super chat. Message to the cow farm. Yakety yak, don't talk back. Is that what you call the View, the cow farm? I would never say such a thing. But Angela can. Anchored Wave, $1.99. Why mad? How do they know she's a woman anyway?
Michelle?
Maybe. Oh, Michelle. That's right. Why be mad about that?
I believe
that's right. And by the way, how do you define woman?
At the last message, you told Anchored Wave, thanks for classing up the place.
Yeah, and now here she is, going right there with Big Mike. Big Mike is cutting edge, says God's best friend. Thank you, Big. Colleen Daly with a $10 tip. Thank you, Colleen. Appreciate that. Harry Grafton, can you play Obama at Carter's funeral where he says, Michael and I give our condolences? No, this show is becoming a bit like Big Mike Central. We're trying to move away from that narrative. Larry, you look older then. Oh, it's the hairline, Angela. Thanks to my friends at larryshair.com. If you would like to grow your hair the way I've been able to grow my hair over the last 10 years, I'm not joking. There really is a website, larryshair.com. You get all the information. Guys, receding hairline? Take care of that at larryshair.com. Siraj, I've been noticing a little creep on the forehead. You might want to go to larryshair.com. I know a guy to solve that for you.
Thanks, Larry.
You're very
welcome.
Noted. I'm a lover, not a fighter. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. In the meantime, this is Town Hall Media. My name is Larry O'Connor, and you can call me Larry.